All right, excellent. So our next speaker is Bobby Rodrigo. Bobby is a legal professional, logistics expert, journalist, radio show producer and host, professional musician, working director of multiple charity and educational organizations, activist and veteran, and he's also the co-founder of the Walk for Change. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing tonight? This has been a marvelous event. I've had you on all day.
Thank you. You were so helpful and gracious to share it to all the different pages that you did working with Antonio, and we really appreciate you and everything you do. I don't think people,
Well, you are a sponsor for the Walk for Change. You deserve that. And
oh, thank you.
You work just as hard as anybody out there.
Yeah, activism is a lot of work.
Mm.
It's not all the, I think sometimes people think, and there are people who go into it, they want to be seen and all of that. It's funny because for me, um, I actually don't love being on the camera, but I'm doing it for a purpose. And I know you're often the man behind the scenes creating things. So I'm going to let you speak. And
First, we're going to say goodbye for the moment to that girl.
yes, I love that. Thank you. All right, I'll leave you to it.
So, this event today is an example of what the Walk for Change is all about. It's interesting in watching this, and I've had it on all day, so it's been interesting in seeing all of the artists, all of the advocates, the medical professionals, et cetera. So it's a broad spectrum of people. And the Walk for Change is about that. So I want to touch on something that has been a personal concern of mine for a long time in my advocacy. And as we know, we have a lot of people who are in prison, who have legal situations, whether it is post-conviction or they've been arrested for use of the plant. So I want to focus on victimless crimes and the use of the plant. And the reason that I bring this up is because it's been a concern of mine for a long time about the proper advocacies, the proper advice, the proper things that people need to do to help each other and themselves in order to battle against the state when it comes to prosecutorial discretion, essentially, and for convictions. We see a lot of different things out there, particularly on social media, which is almost like a pacifier in a lot of ways. And sometimes, a lot of the time, not just sometimes, I see things out there that are frustrating to me because it's a false hope agenda. And it is very important that people learn the proper procedures and the proper avenues that to take and to advise and to send people in order to possibly help them. We know that this is hard. We have seen so many instances of people who have been convicted and put in jail for the plant. No violence, nothing but possessions or use, or alleged to have a weight based upon the fact that they have a bag of edibles instead of the actual cannabis content, for example. A lot of different things. I mean, we've seen the Kettle Falls 5, just to put some cases out there. I was fortunate to work on a number of cases where we were able to get acquittals. And of course, I've worked on cases where there were plea bargains. And of course, I've worked on cases that extend into post-conviction and appeals and the fight. And again, this is very important. And the Walk for Change advocates in this field immensely. It advocates in a lot of areas, but this is a very important thing because one of the major contributors to the Walk for Change is the Human Solution International. And I mention them because I've been involved with them for a long time. I met them when I was working as an advisor and a journalist on a case, the prosecution of Tyler Carricker in Kansas, a felony murder case based upon the predicate crime being a marijuana deal. And the jury was out 6 hours, and he was acquitted of the felony murder case based upon the advocacy of the Human Solution International, and in no small part, the marvelous defense of an attorney by the name of Sarah Swain, who's based out of Lawrence, Kansas. And so the Human Solution has a process of court support, for example. And this is one of the advocacies that are so important. I see a lot of Facebook stuff, do this, sign this, do whatever. We need to show up. That's what really happens. We really want to support people in our community, we need to show up and show the support and do it in a way where the jury and the community and the press knows that the community is not happy about what's going on. But more important is, and of course I'm a member of the American Bar Association, I'm a member of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. I work with these people all the time. And I follow the advocacies that they put out because there's a lot of information that come out. There are a lot of good lawyers out there. Unfortunately, they're the lower percentage in the criminal defense area. So people need to learn to hold their lawyers to task, and they need to read more, and they need to understand what the proper procedures are in criminal cases and in appellate cases. So one of the things that the Walk for Change is doing, along with the Human Solutions International and along with I Take Liberty with My Coffee and other organizations that I'm with, is we are trying to show people what it is that they should be doing in order to properly defend themselves. So I want to show you a couple of things real quick. I won't spend too long on it, but I want to show you some things that you should be aware of. And these are the things you're going to be able to find on the Human Solution website and on the Walk for Change website and on the I Take Liberty with My Coffee website. We want people to have an opportunity to properly defend themselves and properly appeal. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. So all of these files that you see right here are Fourth Amendment issues, Fifth Amendment issues, Bill of Particulars, bond and bail. This is a bunch of sample motions, essentially, that have been put out by the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. And I'll just run through some of them for you to give you an idea of some of the things you're fighting. For example, motion for pretrial Daubert hearing. Daubert is a standard that is used in evidentiary hearings for experts. It is the standard that was set up by the Supreme Court in the cases called Daubert, and where you have to be able to determine if an expert is truly an expert on a particular subject. This is something that is pretty prominent in family law cases, for example, when you're talking about finding words, and when you're talking about children who are taken away from their parents because of use of cannabis, for example. This is defendant's motion in limine, which covers a lot of areas, and it's something that happens during the case of a trial on certain subjects. In limine means that it will be decided as it happens, essentially, during the procedure. You know, here's another one, notice of motion and motion production of 10 police reports. So essentially is a motion when you don't have the police reports or you think that there are more, you want to make sure that you have all the information because as a criminal defendant, you are entitled to it. Here, for example, is a promotion. Here's talking about a motion to dismiss count one. This is basically a motion to dismiss counts in an indictment. And as you can see, this is directly related to a cannabis case specifically. And all these motions actually happen. These are sample motions that were used that have been vetted by the organization and then put out there. Motion to suppress. This is usually involved in improper warrants and improper probable cause to what they call the fruits of the poisonous tree, for example, which is a phrase a lot of people know from television, for example. This is an example of something that happens if you happen to lose. This is a post-sentence motion talking about whether or not the sentence was within the guidelines. This is also the type of thing that you do if you lose a trial and you want to do a motion for a new trial. Motion to compel for disclosure of body camera, for example. I mean, and essentially, it doesn't really matter what you're asking for, but as you can see, and you're going to be able to access these motions on these websites. So as you can see, these are ways and things that you can talk to your attorney about. You know, why don't you file this motion? Why don't you file that motion? Any good attorney is going to walk into court and have a number of motions ready to file in your defense. It is what diligence is all about. Same thing goes back to proper presentation to the government for people who are in prison. Once a person's appeal is over, and the appeal usually has to be over, the procedure to fight to get them out is clemency and pardon and parole and probation. Those are the proper procedures. So if you want to do a petition, you want to get the person's clemency petition in front of a governor or in front of the president of the United States. There are procedures. Every state has them. Every single state has them. And the federal government has them. You can find them on the websites. You can also find them. You'll be able to find them inside these websites that I mentioned to you. But you can look them up. You can pardon and parole, federal government, pardon and parole in whatever state, Arkansas, for example. It's an application that is done. These are the proper procedures to try and get people out of jail. Raising money is also another way that you want to help people. And I just wanted to point some of these things out because I see a lot of things out there that while are good intended, I'm not questioning the intention and the heart of people. Everybody wants to help. And I never question the volunteer level of people when they are committing to help people, whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 years. All of it is important, but you have to know the right ways to do things, the things that really work, the things that the procedures allow, the laws allow for. We're working within a system that is rigged, but there are ways to deal with the system in order to make sure you make a record, in order to give yourself the best chance to fight. And it is so important that these things are put out and that people understand what those are. And if anyone needs anything in that area, all you have to do is contact the Walk for Change, the Human Solution International. You can contact Spartacus Legal in Georgia, or you can contact Attorney Catherine Bernard in Georgia, or Michael Minardi in Florida, or Sarah Swain in Kansas, and it goes on and on and on. There are so many good attorneys and good organizations that are involved in telling you the truth on what is real in a situation and giving you the information so you can make the best informed decision, and also that you can direct other people to who are looking for help, because so many people out there are looking for help.
Absolutely.
And I just want to let everybody know that.
Bobby, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was excellent information for everyone. I really appreciate you so much, and all the support, and it's been great connecting with you, and we'll continue to do that. Absolutely. I look forward to it. And everybody, make sure and you give a thumbs up to what has happened with Bulldozer Health, and check out the walk, number4change.us. I'll see you from behind the curtain. All right. Take care, Bobby. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.